Folks, we've got some absolutely insane news. They're saying that Pooh Shiesty has been arrested and that, in fact, it is true. This rumor that had been going around that a lot of people had said was a lie, it turns out it is true. Allegedly, Pooh Shiesty did rob Gucci Mane. Him and a whole bunch of other gangsters from Memphis held Gucci Mane at gunpoint. They made him allegedly sign over his recording contracts so that Pooh Shiesty could leave Gucci Mane's label. There was rumors that he was going to sign with Yo Gotti, and it is an absolute nightmare, folks. So this was going around 3 whole months ago. This rumor has been on the streets for quite some time. Word on the streets is Yo Gotti took Pooh Shiesty from Gucci Mane, and word in the streets is Pooh Shiesty robbed Gucci for his wedding ring and his watch and made him sign out of his deal. Y'all heard it first. A lot of people said it's cap. Look at this. 3 months ago, Abraham Lincoln cap. For real, no way that happened. It's almost rage bait. Sounds like some shit you typed in ChatGPT. Dude's out here writing fan fiction. You got that false stuff from Hernandez Govan. Y'all owe Hernandez Govan an apology because he was spitting facts. He been right about a lot of shit. Shout out to my guy Hernandez Govan, man. People saying, yeah, facts, cap. You stole that from Facebook. It's not true. It's not true. Ain't no way. Well, turns out Hernandez Govan and everybody else that was talking about this was dead right. All right? Dead right. So it's now come out. There's been a full press conference by the Department of Justice. It's hitting TMZ. Pooh Shiesty was arrested for allegedly kidnapping Gucci Mane.
Rabel, I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas. Thank you for coming. This week, 9 individuals, including well-known musical artists, kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint numerous victims at a music studio in Dallas, Texas. 8 of the 9 were arrested yesterday in Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville. These individuals who are charged and arrested include Lontrell Williams Jr., also known as Pooh Shiesty, Lontrell Williams Sr., Rodney Wright Jr., also known as Big 30, Kadarius Waters, Demarion Gibson, DeMarcus Glover, Corday Johnson, Darian McDaniel, and Terrence Rogers has not been arrested yet, but will be soon. The complaint alleges that on January 10th of this year, 3 music industry professionals traveled to Dallas for a scheduled business meeting. Lontrell Williams Jr. arranged this meeting purportedly to discuss the terms of his recording contract with one of the victims. As alleged, once these 3 men were inside the recording studio, Williams Jr. and 8 co-conspirators, several of whom traveled from Memphis, Tennessee, executed a coordinated armed takeover. As alleged, Williams Jr. produced an AK-style pistol and forced one of the victims to sign a release from the recording contract at gunpoint. The remaining conspirators displayed firearms and robbed the other victims of Rolex watches, jewelry, cash, and
So they held Gucci Mane at gunpoint. They're saying Pooh Shiesty himself, the most shiesty man, and probably the dumbest rapper out here right now. And I'm gonna explain to you why this guy's a fucking idiot, okay? And I'm not gonna hold back. They really robbed Gucci Mane at gunpoint. They stole his chains, they stole his watch, they made him sign him out of the contract. They brought a whole bunch of hitters from Memphis to do this. Absolute buffoonery. Now, I spoke to you guys previously. Let me just say something before I get deeper into this, okay? Because there's something very, very important I've got to get off my chest, okay? Look, I know what's going on. The numbers are down. For me, for the rappers, no one's charting. This drill music thing is dying. I'm going to keep it very real for you, all right? I've not spoken this candidly about this topic. The drill scene is dying. I might do a video about it, but the drill scene, in my opinion, died, and it started to die. It got terminal when Lil Durk got arrested. Because when Lil Durk got arrested for murder for hire, all that talking about, go, green light, go, catch them on the news, see your sonny screaming, no, that was cool until you threw away your opportunity, until you were one of the biggest rappers in the game to ever do it. And now we realizing, oh, all that slide for Von, you actually slid for Von, you're dumb. You threw away your whole life, you're dumb. People don't look up to these drill rappers like they used to. They think they're dumb. They think they're stupid. They think that what they're doing is nonsense and they're throwing away their opportunities. So when that happened with Durk, in my opinion, that's when the drill music and the gangster rap really started to decline. It's been on a massive decline for close to a year now. Pooh Shiesty when Pooh Shiesty got released from jail, he was bringing the real stuff back. FDO was the highest charting single for any rapper, let alone a drill rapper, for a minute. Look at this. This is Pooh Shiesty's FDO, first day out, all right? This was his moment where he was coming back to take over the rap game. He was the biggest and only remaining gangster. This song peaked at number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. Weren't no other gangsters, gun-toting rappers on the Billboard 100 at this time. I spoke about it in previous videos. You can go look it up. But at this point in time, Pooh Shiesty was the only person flying the flag for the gangster rappers. He was the great hope. He was the final hope in history Since Lil Durk got locked up, since basically Lil Durk showed the world that being a murdering rapper that raps about your crimes doesn't really get you nowhere. Oh, this is lame. You got to pay to even see this. But look, we can see that it was 12 on the charts, okay? We can see that it went number 12. Can I even get an archived version of that? FDO, Pooh Shiesty was meant to come back. So this is why this guy is a moron, all right? This guy is an absolute dummy. Because he had every opportunity and he got greedy. He wanted to get himself out of his contract at gunpoint. He was having so much motion. He's thinking, oh, I need to get myself out of this predicament. Now he's fucked. Now he's fucked. Now he's not going to be able to release music. He's going to be facing serious charges. He's going to be back in jail. It's not cool anymore. And he just put another nail in the coffin of drill music where everyone was saying, oh, this gangster rap, this killing, sliding for Von and killing people and rapping about it. And then you lose your entire life. It's not cool anymore. It was cool when Von was killing 7 people and it seemed like there were no consequences to any actions. But Pooh Shiesty just fucked the game up. And he actually just ruined hip-hop. He was the last little hope of this gangster rap shit and he just ruined it, okay? But anyway, there's some more details about the criminal complaint that have come out, okay? And basically, it's not looking good. Not just for Pooh Shiesty, but also Big 30. And this breaks my heart because I've just been getting into Big 30 heavily. All right, that song that he's got with Yo Gotti, I got into that song because Hernandez Govan played it, talking about, you know, apparently Yo Gotti got shot up by Young Dolph before Young Dolph got killed. Big Gotti, what do you think they call me king for? Hard, right? And Big 30 killed that song. Ran out of Wacky in the city, now I'm trishing. Hard. So sad. I'm more sad that Big 30's got caught up in this than Pooh Shiesty, to be honest with you, because I'm feeling Big 30's catalogue right now. But anyway, this basically breaks everything down, okay? There's a serious indictment. It's not looking good, all right? And you can see all the shit that I've been looking at, okay? Yeah, we're trying to get new watches, new Pokemon cards this year. Shout out to the ads one time. Anyway, it says rapper Gucci Mane, whose real name is Radrick Delantic Davis, was allegedly robbed and kidnapped by rappers Pooh Shiesty and Big 30 in Dallas. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ said Thursday that 9 people, including the aforementioned rappers, kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint numerous victims in a music studio in Dallas. 8 of the 9 suspects were arrested on Wednesday, according to the DOJ, in Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville. So they're getting them from a whole bunch of places. So they got Pooh Shiesty, they got Pooh Shiesty's dad, and they got Big 30, and a whole bunch of other people were involved. They all went from Memphis down there to Dallas to raise hell. Absolute nonsense, okay? So the DOJ said in a complaint, 3 music industry professionals traveled to Dallas for a meeting. Pooh Shiesty arranged the meeting. So he arranged a meeting with Gucci Mane to discuss the recording contract, and then he pulled out an AK-47 and allegedly basically said, yeah, you better sign me away, and I'm going to go sign with Yo Gotti. So when the 3 men were in the music studio, you've already heard this, he and 8 of his co-conspirators did an armed takeover, and I don't think it's going to be in here, but I believe one of Gucci Mane's security was actually the police, and people are going to call Gucci Mane a snitch. I don't think Gucci Mane's a snitch, but what's going to end up happening in this situation, unfortunately, is we are going to see people call Gucci Mane a snitch, but in reality, he was rolling with apparently real, genuine armed security, police, ex-police, former, current, off-duty police, whatever you want to call it, all right? He's a multi-millionaire. He needs protection. There's nothing wrong with having armed security that are connected to law enforcement. So there ain't no way, ain't no street code, oh, Gucci Mane's a street dude, so he's just going to roll over and take this. Bro, you out here robbing and choking people unconscious that are like actually got connections to law enforcement. You're a fucking idiot. It says the remaining co-conspirators pulled out guns, robbed the other victims of all their stuff, high-value items, Rolexes, jewelry, cash. One of the victims was choked during the robbery to the point of near unconsciousness. Okay, these are apparent injuries sustained by one of the victims. And yeah, I ain't even going to say it, but you see what's going on. You see the person that got injured here. Fed's taking that seriously. That's just how the system works, man. So apparently Big 30 is the one who barricaded the door to prevent the victims from escaping. So you got false imprisonment in there. Good shout. And we saw the FBI actually executing a search warrant at Pooh Shiesty's Memphis home recently. And it is just looking really bad. So look, I'm going to take a little closer look at some of that paperwork in a minute. But before we do that, I just want to remind you guys that, this was the news footage of when they were actually searching Pooh Shiesty's home. And a few days ago, or a day or so ago, this was going around and people were wondering what was going to happen, saying they're looking for that crate of grenades.
Peter is following now. We're learning more about an FBI search party at a home associated with Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty.
Now take a look. This was the scene earlier this morning outside of a Cordova home belonging to Lontrell D. Williams, otherwise known as Pooh Shiesty's birth name. Now, the house deed didn't specify whether the homeowner is Pooh Shiesty or his father, Lontrell Williams Sr., but the FBI confirms they were at that home to execute a court-ordered search and arrest warrant. warrant. Our Drita Patterson has been at the scene of that search all morning long. Drita, what have you learned?
We've learned quite a bit. It just so happens this is a community where a family I'm very close to live. So they were able to sort of walk us through what happened. They are telling us it was well before, several hours before sunup when they first heard a boom. It was then followed by shouting of the from the agents who were saying that they were certainly executing a search warrant. I can tell you after that boom, there was a back door that was breached. Folks, as mentioned, the home just behind me, according to property records, is listed to Lontrell Williams. Neighbors are telling us this is Williams Sr., the father, of course, of Lontrell Williams Jr., who is better known as Pooh Shiesty. Folks, let's go ahead and show you some of that video for not already. This is how it looked earlier this morning as those federal agents were focused on several cars inside the garage. That, of course, is the extent from our vantage point that we were able to see. This home located along Beaver Valley Lane, just off of South Forest Hill, Irene, here in Cordova. This is a community sort of tucked away. Neighbors described this area as being peaceful. That is until this morning. Take a listen to what a neighbor had to tell us.
They were here, before sunup.
Yeah.
No lights, no sirens, no nothing. Loud explosions, that's what woke me up. They had loudspeakers on saying, we have a warrant for your arrest, come out with your hands up and all this.
Of course, we have reached out to try to get a copy of that search warrant in order to find out exactly who police, or I should say federal agents, were after. Once we get that information, we'll certainly pass it along on air and online. It is worth mentioning there was a vehicle that pulled into the driveway while those agents were here. A young woman got out. Neighbors told me that that woman actually lives here. We tried speaking with that woman, but she did not, of course, want to speak with us. We're still working to gather more information. Of course, we'll pass it along as it becomes available. Reporting for your news leader in Cordova, Drita Patterson, WREG, News Channel 3.
Man, that shit crazy, okay? That shit crazy. So there's also some paperwork now that's going on related to this, and this doesn't give you the full, the full complaint. This is actually a motion just to unseal the complaint, but we've got all of the defendants' names there. And it basically says on March the 30th, so a few days ago, that's when the criminal complaint was actually filed under sealed that actually charged all of these defendants, and it will basically break down the specific charges: kidnapping, conspiracy to commit kidnapping. And it basically says the grounds for sealing no longer exist. 8 of the 9 defendants are now in custody. 1 is currently in the Northern District of Texas. 1's in Tennessee. They're basically trying to get the last person, and they're basically on the run, and they're trying to duck these charges, essentially. It says continued sealing of the complaint serves no benefit to the public, and basically this is just like a little bit of backstory, but we're not going to hear the full breakdown. What's going to happen is I believe this motion to unseal the complaint will probably be granted. We'll likely then get a full breakdown of the actual complaint and the exact allegations, the details, the evidence. It's going to be looking pretty bad. But this complex article actually does give a little bit more backstory about some of the victims and exactly what went down. It's got a little bit more information than some of the previous articles that I've covered. So it basically says that in the criminal complaint, which Complex have apparently obtained, so maybe that's been unsealed at least privately, and some people have got their hands on it. It basically says it doesn't name Gucci Mane Radrick Davis specifically, but one of the victims is identified throughout as RD, so that is Radrick Davis. And they also mention Shiesty's previous signing with the 1017 label. So this breaks down the entire sequence of events that we'll be seeing in that unsealed indictment when it actually drops. It says, inside the control room, Lontrell Williams Jr., aka Pooh Shiesty, produced a purported contract termination or release paperwork from a bag and told Radrick Davis to sign. When Radrick Davis declined, Williams Jr. became agitated and the pair started to argue. And then 2 other people who could see inside the recording room initially believed Gucci and Pooh were discussing business, but as someone saw the conversation intensifying, he texted another person who was still in the lobby. The complaint continues as the argument inside the recording room ensued. Williams Jr. instructed fellow suspect Rodney Wright Jr. to get his bag. Wright complied, leaving the recording room before returning with a bag. Williams Jr. then pulled out what appeared to be a black AK-style pistol from the bag and pointed it at Gucci, demanding again that Gucci sign the contractual release paperwork. He complied, signing the paperwork for Williams Jr., while Pooh and his dad and Wright stood by Gucci, and he wasn't allowed to leave the recording room while he was being held at gunpoint. Now, here's the funny thing. Signing a contract to release someone from your label under duress, under gunpoint, that ain't going to hold up in courtroom. You still signed to Gucci, buddy. All right, unlucky Pooh Shiesty. Gucci Mane is going to be lapping up all of the royalties from your career. He's not going to be letting you drop. He's going to be blocking everything. He's going to be blocking your bag. This is the dumbest thing that anyone could have ever possibly done for their career. Gucci Mane has absolutely a chokehold. He's got Pooh Shiesty by the balls. He's not going to let him go. A judge in a courtroom is not going to honor this signing. Absolutely no way. He's got you. Not only has he got you, but he hates you now. You robbed him at gunpoint. You slimed a king slime. This is absolute ridiculousness, okay? So apparently, according to cell phone records, social media posts, surveillance footage, and more, they'll all be in the complaint, and it is just really not a good look. And Shiesty was on house arrest during the time. He's banned from possessing firearms or partaking in criminal activity. He's fucked. He's not only done all this on probation on house arrest, all right? It's already a bad look. But this is a serious crime. And he's not going to get out of his contract. He is an absolute dummy. So, what I want to do is I want to react to the full press conference and just have a little look and break down everything that was said in the full press conference. It's about 10-15 minutes. And then I want to react to some of what people are saying about this situation on Reddit. Should we look at what people are saying on Reddit first? Let's look at what people are saying on Reddit first. Then I'll just look at the full presser and we can break that down. All right. So this is in Memphis 10. This is the drill street sub related to Memphis music and gangster rap. It says Pooh Shiesty and his dad arrested in connection to the federal investigation. We already know the details. People saying free Pooh, not going to lie, he about to get Lil Durk numbers. They saying Lil Durk ain't got no numbers. Lil Durk about to get some numbers. So I'm sorry. I will not be saying free this dumb fuck dog. He got locked up twice when he had a career, and both times he's been on some dumb shit. People saying Gucci ratted. Hernandez Govern ain't been lying about none of this. I don't think Gucci ratted. I think one of his security was genuinely off duty or retired cop, and he probably just called his homies that have something to do with the police to just say, yo, I just got choked half unconscious and robbed at gunpoint. Can we sort this out? So how's Gucci rat if Pooh's dumbass pulled this stunt in front of a cop? Gucci don't got a rat. Pooh's dumbass told on himself. Says Gucci was with two other people. All three of them got robbed. And one of them got choked to near unconsciousness. Wouldn't they include that this dude robbed and kidnapped a police officer? It's looking like that narrative is false, but it doesn't mean that Gucci is snitching. It says Gucci still had to identify Pooh as Pops and Big 30, along with telling who, what, where, and robbed him. How if a cop was there? They got probably studio footage, all of that stuff. But people saying Hernandez ain't going to put rat status on a dude if it ain't true. He tapped in. Gucci security was off-duty police. They're saying, what Govan been yelling? He was the first to announce that Shiesty been locked up, and they said it was cap. He said he was the first to say Gucci robbed Shiesty. They swore bro was capping. So, bro, this man did everything on monitor in his name. That man did not care. Absolutely the R word. I don't know why everybody thought he was in a halfway house when the feds raided his own home. Obviously, something going on. People just didn't want to believe it because he was in a halfway house. That's the full story. It is crazy, okay? There's been a whole bunch of posts going around. It's been going viral on a bunch of subreddits. Obviously, Memphis 10, it was going crazy, but it also went viral in Chiracology, the Chirac Chicago gang subreddit. It went more viral here than it went in Memphis, ironically. But basically, people are saying that FN put that Drake in Gucci's face and made him sign off. While 30 fat ass blocked the door. This shit had me rolling. That FN put that Drake to Gucci's face and made him sign him off. He gonna be rapping the craziest lyrics, I ain't gonna lie. His FDO2 in like 2052 gonna go hard as fuck. Gonna go so hard. Pop that AK all in Gucci face and made him sign a contract. I told me 30 blocked the door if he'd step out. You know, they don't want that. Oh my God, it's going to be diabolical. Whole time this was real. Can't believe Shiesty pulled this crazy ass shit. I'm confused how bro thought this was going to end either legally or on some street stuff. It was going to go south as a result of robbing Gucci. That contract ain't worth shit if you did it with an AK in your hand. Trying to get out of his deal like Dr. Dre did with Eazy-E. They're saying, didn't this dumb MF Pooh Shiesty just get released from federal prison 6 months ago? They're going to look at him and say they should have cooked him the first time. His judge about to toss him a cool 15 without batting an eye. He could get life for the kidnapping alone, plus 10 for the gun, and a year per bullet. They finna fry his ass. Even his dad. His father is alleged to have helped plan and execute the kidnapping. What fucking plan? This is one of the most dumb, 100% guaranteed to get caught crimes I've ever heard of. Room temperature IQ dumb fucks. They thought Gucci wouldn't talk to the feds, but apparently he is. People saying I doubt he had, but when your security's off-duty police and he was part of getting robbed, I bet he went and told immediately. What a dumbass, just fucking dumb. The dude had one job, drop bangers. He threw it all away just like that. Part of me feels like he's playing the gangster role too hard. Dude, he ain't playing. He really a gangster. He ain't playing. He's really doing that. These dudes have money. Why keep on with the petty street stuff like this? Money and success, still doing dumb stuff in the street. It's so dumb. Could have gone wrong for Pooh, like what happened with Pookie. These rappers must just love going to jail at that point. Man. It's crazy. All right. So look, let's look at the press conference. Let's look at the press conference. They're saying first day back, FDB on the way. Can't snake a snake. Pooh tried to warn us, man, in front of a cop. If Gucci is still who he was, then Pooh just signed a death wish. Gucci would be a fool to retaliate with all this attention. Saying Gucci told he might be gone for another 10, might be longer. He's cooked. He's absolutely cooked. I know Seti Nash somewhere cheesing his ass off right now. Like, I told y'all, this was the dumbest shit ever, though. I hope it was worth it. Bro, he is absolutely cooked. All right, let's look at the presser. I think we heard the first minute or so of this.
I'm Ryan Rabel. I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas. Thank you for coming. 3 music industry professionals traveled. Once these 3 men, the remaining defendant Wright, barricaded the studio door with his body to prevent the victims from escaping. The ringleader of the conspiracy, Lontrell Williams Jr., was on home confinement at the time of the offense, as alleged, for a prior firearms conspiracy charge and conviction out of the Southern District of Florida. Towards the end of his prison sentence, he had been granted home detention. Part of the terms of his home detention were that he would not commit another federal offense or possess a firearm. His father, Lontrell Williams Sr., is alleged to have helped plan and execute the federal kidnapping as charged in the complaint. And as described further in the complaint, within hours of leaving the Dallas studio, a number of the defendants were on social media displaying some of the items that appeared to be the jewelry that had been robbed from the victims. The charging document outlines some of the evidence, just some, establishing the defendants' roles in the federal offense. This is as follows. Electronic monitoring data placing Williams Jr. at the offense location, which would put him in violation of his home detention conditions. Cell phone records and license plate reader data corroborating the coordinated travel of multiple defendants from Memphis, Tennessee to Dallas. Rental car records confirming Williams Sr. rented a vehicle that was used by the group. Surveillance footage from the offense location, a nearby office supply store, and a hotel where several of the defendants stayed following the offense. Fingerprint evidence as well that was recovered from the crime scene, matching at least 2 of the defendants. Social media posts by defendants displaying what appears to be stolen property just in the days following the offense. Greyhound bus records confirming the travel of multiple defendants from Dallas to Memphis the day after the offense. In this case, came to Dallas to conduct legitimate business, and they were met with firearms and violence as alleged in the charging document. This case should serve as a warning to others who believe that using violence and intimidation tactics to rob others in our community is a viable way to conduct business. I'm here to say that it is not, and that if you choose to do this, we will, together with our law enforcement partners here and the other ones in the Northern District of Texas, will bring you swiftly to justice. I want to thank the FBI Dallas Violent Crimes Task Force, the FBI's Memphis Resident Agency and Nashville Field Office, the Memphis Safe Task Force, the Dallas Police Department, the United States Attorney for the Western District of Tennessee, Michael Dunovit, and AUSA Greg Wagner, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Texas, my dear friend and colleague Jay Combs, and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Middle District of Tennessee, including my colleague Braden Busek, for their outstanding contributions in this multi-jurisdictional investigation and prosecution. I'd also like to highlight the extraordinary work. None of this happens without the extraordinary work of our AUSAs in this office, and I'm here to say we have the best AUSAs in the entire country. That includes AUSAs Robert Withers, Claire Demers, and my violent crime chief, Jeremy Fugate. This case really underscores the importance of standing up for crime victims, no matter who they are or where they come from. And the incredible collaborative, investigative partnerships.
All right, so elsewhere in the press conference, we're going to skip ahead some of the more boring stuff, but basically they talk a little bit about the victims. They're not trying to mention Gucci Mane, but, I mean, we know what's going on.
Who these victims are and a specific location of this studio that we're talking about?
I'll answer the last part first. Yes, it'll be in the complaint, and we're happy to get you a copy of that. It's now unsealed. It was off Dallas Parkway in Dallas, Texas, a music studio. That's what's identified in the complaint. As far as victims go, we won't get into, at this time, who the victims are or not.
Chase with the Dallas Morning News. Can you describe the injuries suffered by the 3 victims?
So one of the victims, and this is actually in the complaint, and we'll get you a copy as well, there's a photograph of the injury. It looks like there's some abrasions on the neck and arm.
You were still seeking one suspect.
One of the individuals that's been charged has not had his initial appearance yet, but agents are actively working to locate and bring him to court.
And I wanted to touch on that, actually. Eric Bushman with KRLD. Since there's one person you're still trying to get to come in, I guess it's on request, it's initial appearance, you said that you're trying to work out. Because you're going public with this, are you afraid at all that that's going to hinder eventually getting another individual in?
Agents are working to find him. The complaint has already been unsealed, and a number of these defendants have had their public hearing already, their initial appearance, and so it's already out there that this individual has been charged, and so that information is in the public record. But
okay, people, I've actually got a bombshell. I've just been sent, as I'm recording this video, the full-blown thing. So we've got the full thing here, all right, and this is going to break down all the details. I'm very stoked that somebody managed to get their hands on this. Shout out to my guys, shout out to my team, shout out to my guy Ruffle, man, getting me this. So anyway, it says on January the 10th, 2026, approximately 5:50 p.m., victims who will be referred to throughout this affidavit by their initials or collectively as the victims, RD, Roderick Davis, Gucci Mane, MM, and BP were kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint at a music studio located at Dallas Parkway, Dallas, Texas. Okay, it says at 1 p.m., the victims flew to Dallas alongside RD's head of security. That's very interesting. And another security officer for a scheduled business meeting between Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty. Pooh Shiesty's been signed to 1017 since approximately 2021. Gucci and Shiesty were scheduled to meet because Shiesty was upset with the terms of his contract and wished to be released to them. Williams Jr. So Shiesty had asked Gucci to come to Dallas on this date so they could meet about business, all right? So at 1:45 p.m., the victims arrived at the meeting location at a recording studio within a larger office building. The victims entered the building and realized the recording studio was closed. They were waiting for the studio to open. Some people went to a liquor store and got liquor and red plastic cups. Shiesty's father would call another person multiple times on the day of the meeting. JN answered the phone and learns that Williams Sr. was attempting to book the recording studio that afternoon for Williams Jr. and Gucci to record music. They got surveillance footage. Oh, dear. Okay, they got surveillance footage. People talk about, oh, snitching. Bro, they got surveillance footage of you guys there. We got you, Williams Sr. talking on his cell phone before entering the building. At 3:39 p.m., an employee of the studio arrived to assist with production. And when the employee arrived, Williams Jr. and Sr., so Pooh and his dad, were standing at the back of the office building, engaged in what appeared to be an argument over the phone. 3:43, Pooh Shiesty, his dad, and others, they entered the east side of the office. The target suspects walked through the lobby area of the building before going into the studio. One individual with dreads, later identified as Gibson, was seen exiting the office building. Shortly thereafter returned with a bag slung over his shoulder. Wonder what was in the bag. Big heavy bag. So the 9 individuals entered the studio's control room, where inside the victims were watching a football game. CW was positioned in the studio lobby while TD remained in the vehicle they arrived in. Depicted below are photos of the studio, crime scene photos of the studio. Okay, the victims overheard Pooh Shiesty talking on his cell phone with a probation officer. You really did this just after you'd spoken to your probation officer. The caseworker had given him permission to be out for rec time. Apparently, Shiesty was informed this was not the case and he needed to return immediately. So you're on house arrest, you're talking to your PO, you're not even supposed to go there. They've told you got to get home and you wear an ankle monitor. And you said, you know what, let me pull an AK and rob this fool. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Gucci told Pooh they could reschedule the session, but Pooh said he wanted to speak to Gucci privately in the recording room. He agreed. They entered the recording room, Pooh and his dad and another man. Meanwhile, other people remained in the control room with 6 other individuals watching the football game. They offered to share liquor that they purchased with target suspects, and at least 2 accepted, so they were all drinking out the red cups. Then Pooh Shiesty pulled out his contract termination paperwork and told Gucci to sign. Gucci declined. Pooh Shiesty got agitated and they had an argument, and people could see them inside the recording room. They thought they were discussing business, but they saw the conversation was getting more and more intense. After the argument, Pooh Shiesty instructed Wright to get the bag. Wright complied. He left the room, came back with a bag, and he pulled out an AK-style pistol, so like a Draco-type gun. Gucci then signed the paperwork at gunpoint, so that ain't going to hold up in a courtroom. And basically, they all stood by and made sure that Gucci couldn't leave the room while he was held at gunpoint. Wow. Wright then pulled out a cell phone and purported to record Gucci Mane signing the paperwork while being forced to say that he released Pooh Shiesty from the contract. That ain't going to be worth shit. After the release was signed, they took Gucci's wedding ring, his watch, and his earrings and cash. Wow. So the story about Gucci getting his wedding ring stolen is 100% true. After he signed the paperwork released, Pooh Shiesty provided the paperwork to his dad and asked him if the paperwork was good. The dad said it needed to be dated, and they then forced Gucci to add a date next to the signature. They all then left the recording room. The remaining subjects produced handguns and started to demand property from the other people that were there with Gucci. They pushed one of those people onto the couch in the control room. Somebody known to BP as CMO Damn Fool, part of Pooh's crew, later identified as Rogers, ran his pocket, stole his wallet, a chain, a necklace bearing 1017 from his neck. Another suspect he knew as Glizzy375, later identified as McDaniel. During the robbery, McDaniel repeatedly threatened to shoot BP for moving, but when Pooh instructed McDaniel to not shoot him. BP further identified an individual known as Baby Slime 375, later identified as Johnson, as being involved in the kidnapping and robbery. And during the control room robberies, Johnson possessed a firearm, held BP and others at gunpoint. MM and BP identified an individual they knew as KD, later identified as Walters, also being involved in the kidnapping and robbery, possessing a firearm. So these guys are identifying people. That makes me think that could be the off-duty cops. MM was choked from behind to the point of nearly losing consciousness and resulted in scratches in his neck and wrist. MM was robbed of a Rolex, a Louis bag containing multiple other high-dollar watches, Apple AirPods, his wallet, and he confirmed that the wallet had an Apple AirTag in it. You are the dumbest criminals in existence. So as the altercation inside the control room ensued, Wright walked over to the studio door lobby, closed it, and blocked it with his body, preventing victims from leaving. The victims' security guards watched Wright barricade the door and attempted to force their way into the control room, but were prevented from entering. With handguns drawn, CW and TD managed to partially open the door, but they recognized they were outnumbered by the target suspects. Gucci was pushed onto the couch in the control room, causing the victims to believe they were going to be executed. Pooh Shiesty placed the barrel of the firearm to the back of BP's head and ordered him and Gucci to leave the control room in the studio through the west entrance. Gucci then instructed CW and TD to escort them to their vehicle. As the victims left, MM turned to Pooh Shiesty and asked him if they were really taking his watches. Based on later surveillance footage, target suspects left the studio and office building through the east entrance at 4:44 p.m. These are absolute fucking morons, and they're all on camera. Got your shiesty on. Doesn't really matter if you got your shiesty on. Oh, we put the shiesty on. No one's going to capture me. You guys are fucking dumb. Exterior surveillance footage recovered from neighboring building showed a white Buick Enclave, a black Dodge Charger Hellcat, a black Dodge Ram with a roll bar affixed to the bed of the truck traveling northbound. So we've got all your cars, all your custom vehicles spotted. According to law enforcement databases, Wright's father, also named as Rodney Wright, owns a 2020 Dodge Charger Hellcat bearing Tennessee license plate. And I believe that license plate was red. It says the Charger was captured following close proximity. A Dodge Ram bearing an Arkansas license plate, same roll bar. They placed the Charger traveling in close proximity to a Buick Enclave bearing Texas license plates. The Enclave returns with Hertz Rental as its registered owner. So you're doing all that in rentals. Okay. They spoke to Hertz about the information about the car. It had been rented in Pooh Shiesty's father's name. Rented the car in your name. Yeah, genius. Genius. Do all this drilling in the name. The car was rented to Williams Sr. at the time of the robbery. Location information provided in response to a search warrant detailed the movements of the Buick. They corroborated the LPR scans and confirmed the Enclave was at or near the offense location, you big dummies. Okay, then they got Pooh Shiesty's electronic location monitoring. Oh dear, you did all that with an ankle monitor on? Yeah, okay, good one. Pooh Shiesty serving 63 months for violating the Firearms Act. He basically is on home confinement. He can't possess any deadly weapons or being in the company of anyone with a deadly weapon. He's required to wear an electronic monitoring device. Investigators received partial records, including location data. They corroborated the movements, including his location near the offense location. You are a moron. On the day of the offense at 1:50 p.m., Pooh Shiesty's dad was seen entering a Staples location. The rented Buick can be seen on surveillance video. He walks in and used the copy printer receipt. Don't tell me you used the rental to go to Staples to print out the contract that you made him sign. Please don't tell me. He did a transaction at the copy printer machines. Okay. Visited the Staples in the car that you rented that was at the location. He went to the Staples for the purpose of printing off the contractual release that was presented to Gucci Mane. Premeditation, you big dummies, all right? Cell phone records for Pooh Shiesty and his dad and other people, telematics. Look, we ain't got to read it all, okay? But they got the cell phone data. The cars and the people were in the area of where Pooh Shiesty was residing. Windrose Tower, now you're doxed as well, unlucky. Okay, he resided there before moving into his residence at 12 Cowboys Way in Frisco's, Texas. Whoops-a-daisy. They all traveled together to the area of the offense location, arriving at 3 p.m. All the data said you all went there and rented. Bro, you guys are cooked, basically. Look, I don't need to read you all of this, but yeah, you were all tracked exactly where you were supposed to be, where we thought you were. And the Comfort Inn, all right? All staying at the Comfort Inn, Okay. Surveillance footage from the Comfort Inn got you all in the same clothing as the robbery suspects. Whoopsie, got you all in the same fits. All on camera with your faces out. Pooh Shiesty should have been wearing shiesties, didn't he? It wouldn't have even helped. All of you on there. Crazy. And then they did prints lifted from the crime scene ran through AFIS. The same day, a fingerprint expert received hit notifications. Prints on the red Solo Cup identified as Gibson, identifying the target suspects through Instagram. Everybody knew Pooh Shiesty through his legal name and his Instagram handle. Okay. They basically identified him. He was wearing a black Shiesty mask. Now, that really kills it, right? You get caught up wearing the Shiesty mask. You popularized the Shiesty mask. You wearing a Shiesty mask to conceal your identity doesn't work when you're the man that invented Shiesties. You fucking dummy. Absolute moron. Absolute moron. You guys are the reason that hip-hop and drill music is dead, because you do this dumb stuff. You have the greatest opportunities to make it in music, and you do dumb shit like this, and you throw away great opportunities that other people would kill for. The victims identified William's senior account, so they got his dad's account. CEO Big 30 shots. Brr. All right. So disappointed in Big 30, man. I was loving his music lately. He was identified by Instagram. Okay, a Shiesty is a popular balaclava-style face mask. They ain't even going to mention that Pooh Shiesty literally is the person that actually popularized this. So they got KD. They've identified his Instagram. Whoopsie. Getting that money. BP identified as Downfall375. Whoopsie. Identified you. Yes, I'm a big watch fan, okay? I'm a big watch fan. You know I love my watches. You know I love my kettles, all right? So I can't wait to hear. So it's saying, ooh, surveillance footage. He saw him exiting the building with a Louis Vuitton bag. He posted a video showing himself wearing a Rolex GMT Master 2, the Batman. They stole a Batman with an oyster steel band, very similar to the watch stolen from MM. He provided the serial number. He was also wearing shoes that were similar to those he worn during the offense. The Batman. I fucks with the Batman. The Batman's hard. All right. And he's actually using his GMT function. He's twisted the bezel so he can track a second time zone. This is the first person I've ever seen. For all of the drillings that you guys do, at least you're using the functionality of the GMT Batman. Okay. I'm a big watch guy. Anyway, they identified everyone else through the Instagram, twin CMO. All right. He was the person who choked and scratched and wanted to shoot MM during the offense. They matched his driver's license photograph with the individual on the account. You're cooked. Oh, no, not showing off another GMT. All right. And he's using the GMT function too. You got to track multiple time zones when you're doing these kinds of armed robberies. He posted a large amount of cash and a Rolex similar to one stolen from MM and a location tag of Dallas, Texas. They gave up on the ones that didn't know what's coming. I'll tell you what's coming, prison. I'll tell you what's coming. You gave up on the ones that didn't know what's coming. Prison. That's what's coming. You a dummy. And I'll grab this watch. I'll buy this watch from the evidence locker for the low if you guys want. Just so dumb. It's a nice watch. The solid gold GMT is a super nice watch. And they stole the 1017 chains. Vision. How are you holding people up at gunpoint, telling them to take you off the label, and then you flex in the label chain? He wore the 1017 necklace. You a fucking idiot. BP identified an individual, Baby Slime. He was present during the offense. He posted a story and tagged them. Folks got that shit on. Oh my God. You guys are so dumb. So online investigative research and Memphis gang investigators confirmed that the individual depicted matches Gibson's recent arrest booking. They identified all of you guys. Summary of suspects' involvement. Okay. We basically, look, we've summarized all of this. All right. Everybody is plugged in. They was getting the Greyhound bus. We identified everybody. In conclusion, you're all cooked. This is one of the dumbest things I've seen. I'm so disappointed in Pooh Shiesty and his whole entourage. I feel like you guys are actually really giving the rap game a bad name right now. Lil Durk crashed out. He threw his life away. Everyone's really disappointed. The Great Hope, the voice, is no longer here with us. Pooh Shiesty, man, you had FDO. You was number 12 on Billboard charts, and you're out here doing this nonsense. That armed contract signing ain't worth the paper it's printed on, right? Ain't worth the Staples paper that you went and in your rental that was registered to your father's name and got the thing printed out on it. Ain't worth shit. Gucci Mane still owns all your rights, and you're fucked. You're an idiot. You're all idiots. This is so embarrassing. Look, let's see what happened. People are going to be talking about, are they innocent? Oh, I don't condone this whatsoever. This is nonsense. This is dumb. And somebody else should have had this opportunity because Pooh Shiesty absolutely doesn't deserve it. Didn't deserve the last opportunity that he had when he shot the security guard in the leg and shot the guy in the ass when they were buying some weed. And he doesn't deserve it now, man. FDO. Imagine that being your high point. FDO. That's all you did. And then you fucked off back to prison. Embarrassing. Okay, but anyway, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. I'll keep you guys up to date on this story as it develops, but this is one of the most embarrassing crash outs I've ever seen. I will let you guys know if I hear any more information. I'm glad I got that paperwork at the end of the video, but yeah, everybody is absolutely cooked, and it's deserved. See you soon.